guys, how's it going? It's Ultimus. My friends, it is here. We are looking at Light's Wrath, the Discipline Priest artifact weapon. So without further ado, let's jump right in and get this show on the road. First, we'll take a look at the appearance real quick just for kicks and giggles. Definitely like that look personally. I can see it going with a lot of really cool presets. Just that red alone right there is kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. But I don't want to get too crazy looking at all of this because we're not here to look at skins. We are here to talk about the talents here in this tree. So, taking a look first at brightest lights, darkest shadows. Casting holy spells has a chance, to cause your staff to send a wave of healing to all targets with your atonement for 1. Obviously that number is incorrect. Casting shadow spells has the chance to cause your staff to imbue you with shadow energy, causing you to deal 3% more direct damage every second for 10 seconds. So, in case you forgot or maybe were even unaware of what they're doing with Discipline Priest to change them up, they are heavily emphasizing the gameplay style of Discipline Priest on healing and damage, or healing through damage, essentially. You're going to do more damage than you did before, so a lot of your damage is going to be coming through that, or at least probably a lot of your mechanics or your procs were going to be coming from balancing the two out. Most of your attacks can heal and do damage. Penance, I think, is a key example. Penance is one that can do damage if channeled onto an enemy target, and it will heal if it's channeled onto a friendly target. So, definitely probably the most unique out of all the healer playstyles, and it has also the biggest potential to fall behind or just be absolutely broken. With it comes the concern from DPS classes that are Discipline Priests going to be out DPSing and out healing everybody. And of course there's a lot of balancing issues that come along with that, but we're not really here to talk about that necessarily, partly because a lot of that is all speculation at this point until we get ourselves some actual beta footage and testing come raids and PvP and all that. But I do want to look at the casting, or the equip effect I should say. Casting holy spells has a chance to cause your staff... Okay, see, the tooltip is different on here. It's same spell, and I wanted to double check this because on a couple of the classes I felt like it was bugged where your first talent was different than the equip effect, but it basically is the same, which is fine. But on here it says 100% of spell power, so that seems like a more likely tooltip rather than just the 1. Although maybe it's safe to assume that whenever we see the 1, it means 100%. I don't know if that's too much assumption on my part. But it's basically the same exact effect that we saw on our first rank spell, and I believe that is how it's supposed to be. Your first rank spell here is supposed to be your equip effect for the weapon, which makes sense. Let's go ahead and look at Speed of the Pious. While channeling Penance, you move 5% faster, and this stacks up to 10%, up to 15%. And then Shield of Faith increases the absorb from Power Word Shield by 3%, 6%, 10%. So it seems to me too that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Discipline Priests are going to have the one, or going to be the one healing spec with more emphasis on absorbs and bubbles necessarily, rather than other specs. Although a lot of other healing specs have absorbs attached to them, namely Holy Paladins. But Holy Paladins are getting a lot of those absorbs removed from them, save their Hand of Protection, of course, their own Divine Protection, etc., etc. But their entire mastery is being reworked, so not as much emphasis on bubbles and absorbs from Holy Paladins anymore. Which, as someone who plays a Holy Paladin, I'm okay with, as long as the mechanics work just fine and we're able to still keep people alive. But Discipline Priests are definitely going to be the niche class when it comes to absorbs. I also think it's interesting, too, I suppose I should have commented on this earlier, while you're channeling Penance, you move 15% faster when it's all decked out. I think that will help Discipline Priest out a lot, because I feel like the problem with Discipline Priest is they're very squishy and they're not very slippery either. Priests in general actually are pretty hard to defend yourself as. You really rely on other classes' abilities to peel for you. And so with things like this, that might make it a little bit easier for you to sneak away in a PvP situation. Time will tell. Share in the light. When your power word shield another target, 15% of that shield also is applied to yourself. Oh, that's kind of cool. So just based on whatever you power word shield, you're going to get 15% of that shield applied to yourself. And I'm assuming with your relics that you're going to be able to buff that up as well. So that might be kind of a cool mechanic, especially depending on especially like if you're going into like a heavy pressure comp. If you're getting a comp with a lot of heavy burst, it might be nice to keep that around because it might be the difference between a lost game on opener or surviving the opener. So I don't know. Again, all speculation at this point, from my point, anyways. as most of my experience with Priest comes from playing Shadow, I leveled a little bit as Discipline, but I had more fun playing Shadow, and I did play Shadow more. Burst of Light increases the damage and healing of Power Word Nova by 3%, 6%, and 10%. So Power Word Nova is one of our new abilities as Priest. I say our like I play one. Who am I kidding? Basically, it is an ability, if I'm not mistaken, and I remember correctly, that heals and does damage at the same time. So what you're going to be doing is it's going to be buffing that up by 10%. Pretty cool. Power of the Dark Side. I'm getting like all like Jedi and Sith here, like some Star Wars stuff going on here. When Shadow Word Pain deals damage, you have a chance to replace Penance with Shadow Penance, interesting, which deals 100% bonus damage and will bounce to additional targets. Oh. So that's interesting. So when you, as long as you have Shadow Word Pain up, you're going to have a chance to have this proc, and then Penance is going to be replaced with Shadow Penance, allowing you to do damage, more damage to people, and it's going to bounce or to additional targets, much like Chain Lightning, I would imagine. And that's interesting. So a little bit of AoE pressure from Discipline Priests. I'm curious, too, if that's going to stack with this, or if having the Shadow Penance will cancel out that. I can't imagine it would. So that's kind of cool. I dig it. And of course, you can always proc that as well. So that's kind of cool. So you can, in the middle of all that, get an even bigger damage up. So kind of cool if all this stuff could proc off each other. The Edge of Dark and Light increases the damage of Smite and Mind Blast by 3%, 6%, up to 10%. Let's skip over here to the other side real quick and look at Confession. Damage of Penance is increased by 3%, 6%, 10%. So more just flat, damage buffs. Nothing wrong with that. Damage taken is reduced by 3%, 6% up to 10%, and that's Vestments of Discipline. Guess it makes sense if you're skilled in the arts of healing and dealing damage, you would also know how to take damage more or less. I would actually like to see Discipline be the tankiest out of all of the pre-specs. I feel like it just makes the most sense, not just strictly from absorbs, but I feel like if your whole thing is Discipline and knowing the balance between Shadow and Light and taking damage and healing and all that stuff like that, I feel like it would make sense for you to be able to take a little bit more damage than other specs, especially because Holy is going to be having the biggest single target heals in the game, as well as AoE heals, all stuff like that, and Shadow just seems like it's going to do a ton of damage. I mean, I don't want the other classes to necessarily fall apart and die when you hit them with a bag of yard work, but it just makes sense to me at least that Discipline would be the tankier of the three specs. But again, that's like more speculation, personal preference, and we'll have to wait and see what this looks like. The Light returns. Power Word Nova has a 101% chance to be cast twice. I feel like that's a bug. That's got to be a bug, because you really can't get more of a chance than 100%. So whatever that chance is, Power Word Nova has a chance to be cast twice. Kind of cool. I mean, again, as long as we're not looking at a spec that is completely reliant on RNG and procs and such like that, as long as you have control over your healing and your damage to a degree, and then of course procs will make one or the other better, I'm okay with that. But as long as you don't do crap until stuff procs right, I feel like that would just be depressing. Pain is in your mind, as it is. Cooldown of pain suppression is reduced by 10%, or 10 seconds, I should say, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Okay, what's pain suppression on right now anyways? Isn't that a 1 minute cooldown? I feel like pain suppression is like a 1 minute, 1 minute and a half cooldown, at least right now. What it's going to be in Legion, I don't really remember. But that's a significant cooldown reduction, 30 seconds. That's okay. All right. Barrier for the Devoted. Atonement heals for 100% more if the target is inside your Power Word barrier. Oh. So it's almost again like you're seeing the mechanic for Resto Shamans, that if you're standing in the healing rain and they cast that one specific talent they get from their artifact weapon, you're going to get healed for it, and a big old bursting amount. So again, rewarding people for standing in that rain, and then of course the shaman himself for being able to pull it off at the right time. So I could see that being a very similar gameplay mechanic as well, just emphasizing things and setting up team alignment right and things like that, like making sure your team isn't all over the place, and coordinating and communicating of where things are going to be dropped, which pillar to fight behind, all that kind of stuff. So that I could see being pretty cool, pulling off some pretty clutch plays with that in a PvP situation. Doomsayer, increase the duration of Rapture by 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I don't quite remember what Rapture does off the top of my head. Let me look real quick, actually. So taking a look really quick at Rapture, for the next 8 seconds, your power word shield has no cooldown. Oh, that's kind of cool. So you can just basically spam away on power word shield, which that's kind of cool, and that's going to stack really well with a lot of other abilities. Okay, I see where this is going. Oh, pain suppression has a 3-minute cooldown. So it's going to be 2 minutes 30 seconds as of Legion with all of the new abilities there. So Rapture is going to last for 3 seconds longer. So that's 3 seconds longer where your power word shield is not going to have a cooldown, which is kind of cool because that's going to stack very well with that, I think. Of course, the more people you spam power word shield on, you're going to get a bigger little buff there. You're going to get the 15% of whatever that's cast on yourself. That's gonna increase the absorb by it there. So okay, that's kind of cool. Okay, I'm liking where they're going with this. Rapid Atonement. When you apply Atonement to the target, the cast time of your next Mind Blast or Smite is reduced by 5%, or your next Penance will channel 5% faster. All the way up to 15% and 15% for both of those. So whenever you apply Holy Atonement, okay. And then last talent up here before we get to the big one in the middle, Sins of the Many. You deal 1% more damage for each person who has Atonement on them. So everybody gets Atonement, you're getting tons more damage. Interesting. I never clicked on that one. That's going to bug me. And then last but not least, Renewal of Faith. When you activate Pontifex, the duration of all active Atonement buffs is increased by 10 seconds. Oh, wow. So just going to pop that, and everything when everything that has Atonement on it is increased by 10 seconds. And then let's look at what Atonement is really quick. And then Atonement is Plea, Power Word Shield, and Shadowman also apply Atonement to your target for 15 seconds. When you deal spell damage, you instantly heal all targets affected by Atonement by 50% of the damage done. Oh, wow. Okay, so I feel like Atonement is in the game already. I'm just unfamiliar with it because that sounds extremely familiar. So popping the one particular skill that I cannot remember what the name is at the time, your Pontifex. And I don't really know what Pontifex is, though. I'm not seeing a skill for that. So whatever Pontifex is, you're going to cast that. Everything with active Atonement buffs is refreshed or increased by 10 seconds. And of course, that means everything that's getting healed or has Atonement on it when you do damage is getting healed for 50% of the damage. Okay, wow, that's kind of cool. Okay, so definitely playing into heavily and enhancing that healing through damage mechanic. I've always appreciated good Discipline Priests because they can be tricky to play. You can get so easily tunnel visioned. And I'm saying this from leveling a little bit as Discipline. I pretty much leveled through Wrath and Kata content as Discipline, and then everything before that and after that I did Shadow just because I got tired of healing. Because I was actually bad at it. And that's kind of part of my point, is that it's easy to get tunnel vision on just doing damage or just healing. And I feel like stuff like this that is really like your core gameplay is enhancing and focusing in on that type of mechanic where you need to be keeping your atonements up and you need to be healing as well, but you also need to be doing damage to get the most out of those atonements. And I feel like stuff like this, again, and I feel like I say this a lot, and maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I feel like if this is executed properly, this could definitely raise the skill cap and set the standard for good, great, and godlike Discipline Priests at a very, very wider margin. Because I feel like where the state of the game is right now, there's not a whole lot that separates the good from the bad players necessarily. And I say that fully understanding that I am one of the bad players. Like, I know I am not great at the game at all. It's just a game that I love very much. And I would be okay seeing that gap widened a little bit, because that's how you learn, I think, from watching the good players and picking up on what they do and watching how they're watching their procs and their play styles, their key bindings, all of that. So in the end, I think if they can pull this off and they stick to separating a lot of stuff like this and making the skill cap on certain classes rather high, and specs I should say too, that I feel like it's only going to benefit the game in the long run. That's it for this video, guys. As always, I thank you so very much for watching. I hope you have a happy new year, as that is coming up tomorrow by the time this video goes live. If you haven't already, please feel free and do follow me on all the different social media platforms. There are links and addresses to all those around the page. Most of them are down below in the comment section. My Instagram is up on the banner. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook. We've got a page set up there where you'll be seeing when videos go live on YouTube, so you don't have to, of course, keep an eye on the channel and keep checking back if you're interested in that sort of thing. And with Twitter, as always, it's just another medium for me to communicate with you guys and chit-chat with you guys, just to kind of touch base and hear your thoughts on things. But looking forward to bringing you guys more videos in 2016, and hopefully beta content as we move closer to Legion Beta coming out. I will get the best content that I possibly can out for you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.